Across the continental United States, people have reported seeing a large, hairy, ape-like creature more than 10,000 times. The claims that build this modern myth are incredibly consistent. Witnesses describe massive footprints left in the mud, eerie nocturnal howling echoing through the trees, and brief, startling glimpses captured on film, like the famous 1967 Patterson-Gimlin footage. But there is a glaring problem hidden beneath the surface of these claims: the fossil record. Paleontologists have excavated sites across the Americas for centuries, and to date they have never found a single fossil or physical trace of a great ape native to the continent. For any large animal to avoid extinction, it requires a robust breeding population. You cannot have just one or two giants roaming the woods. Survival requires hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals. A population of that size would leave behind a massive ecological footprint: bones, fur, feces, and clear, measurable impacts on local food chains. This sharp tension between biological data and eyewitness accounts suggests a mystery more complex than a few simple hoaxes. If science definitively proves a living primate is impossible, the investigation must shift toward the mechanics of human perception to explain why the evidence keeps mounting. The modern obsession with Bigfoot really took off right here, in the dense, towering redwood forests of Northern California in 1958. A bulldozer operator working for a logging company found a series of huge 16-inch human-like footprints sunk deep into the mud of a job site. He reported his discovery to a local newspaper, and the media quickly coined a catchy name for the culprit: Bigfoot. Decades later, the family of one of his coworkers, Ray Wallace, revealed the truth. After Wallace passed away, they showed the world a pair of oversized, carved wooden feet he had kept in his basement. He had been secretly stamping those tracks into the mud as a prank, inadvertently providing the blueprint for generations of copycats. But intentional pranks only account for a fraction of reports. To understand the genuine sightings, we have to look at the work of data scientist Flo Foxon, who used ecological modeling to map out where these encounters actually happen. This map visualizes the geographic density of Bigfoot sightings. When we overlay known populations of the American black bear, a pattern emerges. In the Pacific Northwest, the zones match up perfectly. The conclusion is straightforward. Where there are more bears, people see more Bigfoots. Black bears are biologically capable of walking fully upright, especially if they have an injured front paw or are standing up to forage for food. When standing on their hind legs, an adult black bear reaches heights of 5 to 7 feet. When you combine the popularized mental image of a giant wooden foot with a sudden, distant glimpse of a dark, bipedal bear in the woods, the human brain quickly fills in the gaps. A normal, everyday animal encounter is suddenly misinterpreted as a monster. To test this theory, researchers have applied rigid modern scientific standards to the most compelling physical evidence remaining: collected hair samples. In 2014, a joint study out of Oxford University genetically sequenced 30 hair samples suspected to be from Bigfoot-like creatures. This followed a similar declassified 1976 analysis conducted by the FBI on hair attached to a piece of skin. The forensic results from both studies were decisive. Every single sample sequenced originated from a known animal. The supposed Bigfoot fur turned out to be from dogs, deer, horses, humans, and, predictably, bears. This animated graphic demonstrates a psychological concept called pareidolia. Our brains are evolutionarily hardwired to rapidly identify human faces and figures within random, chaotic patterns, like foliage or shadows, to protect us from hidden threats. When you pair that hardwired survival instinct with poor lighting, a shaky camera, and the power of suggestion, you get the classic blob squatch photograph, a blurry image of a tree stump or bush that our brains insist is an ape man. Since forensic DNA rules out a biological creature, the persistence of these sightings proves that Bigfoot is actually a glitch in human cognitive processing. The human tendency to see these creatures didn't start with a logger's prank in 1958. Legends of giant hair-covered humanoids have been part of our storytelling for centuries. The myth has deep indigenous roots across North America. The Tsatsils Nation in British Columbia spoke of the Sasquatch, while the Yokuts tribe in California carved ancient petroglyphs depicting a towering family of hairy men. These traditions closely mirror the European folklore of the wild man of the woods. Across different continents and isolated cultures, this archetype repeatedly appears, proving it to be a nearly universal human concept. Ecologist Robert Pyle suggests that this repetition points to a psychological theory. Human cultures share a deeply ingrained need to believe in a larger-than-life creature living just beyond the edge of civilization. Today, we live in a hyper-mapped, hyper-connected reality, where almost every square mile of the planet is categorized by satellites. That level of certainty has created a societal deficit of mystery. The endurance of the Bigfoot myth acts as a cultural coping mechanism for that loss. We continue to project this creature into the darkest parts of the woods because we desperately want to believe the wilderness is still untamed, vast, and capable of hiding secrets. Ultimately, Bigfoot survives as a reflection of our own psychology, a myth we brought with us into the trees.